Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name is Ralph and in today's lesson we'll be solving question 3 of this question paper, which was written on the 3rd of March 2026, right? So let me jump straight to it. We did question 2 on the previous video. If you missed that, you can go and watch it. Now, in this question, we are developing a housing subsidy system that helps determine whether an employee qualifies for a housing subsidy based on their employment status and monthly salary. Okay. So before writing any code, make sure that you read the question carefully and make sure that you understand the scenario. Also study the IPO chart, and this is how the UI looks like, the GUI or GUI looks like, okay? And make sure that you understand these steps, like how the program runs, okay? Let's jump right in. Okay, now they're saying the completed user interface has been saved on the hard drive. Now, if you don't want to create your own GUI or user interface, there's a link on the description where you will find that user interface, right? Just click on it and download it. Open the solution called Housing Subsidy and follow instruction below to complete the program. Note, use global variables provided. Now, in our case, we don't have those global variables. It means that that's the very first thing that we have to do before answering any questions, okay? Or if you want to open, just press F7. A global variable is declared outside all procedures, all functions and sub-procedures, right? And they can be used throughout the entire form. They can be accessed by those sub-procedures or functions, right? Now, we use them to store information that multiple events can use. That's basically what I'm saying, you see. We use them to store information that multiple events may use, okay? Now, I'm just going to come here and we will refer to that IPO chart to declare those variables, okay? Now, let me put a comment. We'll refer to that IPO chart. So, the first thing was I'll declare my ID number as a string. You'll see why eventually, and you can ask your lecturer if they were going to give you a mark if you have kept it as a string, okay? Now we'll declare current date. We'll declare date as current date, right? Because you can't declare it as date because VB.NET already use that name, right? So we'll keep it as current date. If I still remember. Yeah. Next was I'll declare net salary as decimal because it's gonna store money, right? Next was and also subsidy. I'll declare it as decimal. Okay, now I think we can begin with our questions. Go back. Okay, 3.1, they're saying add your examination number as a comment to your source code. This is where you're supposed to put your examination number. 3.2, they're saying open the selected index changed event of the CMB implement combo box and add the following code. So this is the combo box. To open that event, either you can double click on it or you can come here in this, click on this lightning bolt called events. It's already highlighted. Just double click here next to it. Now the selected index change event occurs when the user changes the selected item in a combo box, right? So what it does, it triggers whenever the selected index of the combo box changes, whenever the user, or in this case the employee, selects any item inside that combo box. Okay, let's go back. Okay, now let's go to 3.2.1. They're saying assign surname initials to an appropriate variable. Okay, we're gonna come here and say surname initials is equal to this stores the surname initials entered by the employee. Let's go to the next question. They're saying 3.2.2. They're saying contract employees do not qualify for a housing subsidy. Write an if statement that will display a message on the message box and label as indicated below. Okay, so this is the screenshot. Okay, to do that, let's go back and check that combo box first. Okay, now we know that contract is at index 0, it's our first item, right? And then permanent is at index 1, which means it's our second item. Now we're gonna come here and say if CMP, which means if the user selects the first item, right? Then if the first item in the combo box is selected, the employment is not permanent. We know that, right? It's contract. Now we're gonna display this message. A message will appear informing the employee that they do not qualify, right? It reads, sorry, you do not qualify. Okay, we're gonna come here and see. It had this title, an OK button, and an information icon. Yes. After that, we're gonna display this message on this label called LBL message, right? We're gonna call that label and say it's equal to okay. Now after that, we're gonna exit sub to stop the program from running, right? After the user or after the employee has clicked OK, if ever they have chosen the first item, which is contract, right? If they're not permanent, we're going to show them this message. The program is going to show them this message, these two messages. First, it's going to show them this message box, sorry, you do not qualify. After they click OK, it's going to show them this message on this label, right? Okay, now, next thing they're saying, enable the TXT net salary text box if the user selects permanent. Now, in our case, we don't have that text box disabled. So the first thing that we have to do is to disable it. So how are we going to disable it? There are multiple ways we can disable it. The first one, we can disable it when the form loads. We will do that on its load event. You're going to click anywhere on the form, come here on the events button, find its load event, and then double click on it. Or you can just double click anywhere on the form, right? So any code written here is going to be executed when the form loads, right? When your application opens. Okay, so to disable it, we're going to say txt net salary dot enabled equals to false, right? That should do it. But I prefer writing my load event right on top. I'm going to cut it and paste it here. Or you can leave it there, it's still fine. So let's go ahead and test it. So when my application loads, this text box should be disabled, right? And we only gonna enable it when the user selects permanent, right? So we're gonna come here and say else if the user selects the second item, then so now if the user or the employee chooses permanent, then it's gonna be enabled, right? But when it's contract, yes, it's gonna show this message box. When the user clicks OK, it's gonna display this message, okay, and terminates the program after that. But net salary is still enabled. I want to change that, but to do that, we're gonna come and copy this line, or you can just type it, right, and I will paste it right there. Let me just give it space so that it doesn't look messy. Okay, now here we're gonna disable the text box, the net salary text box, when the user picks contract, right, if the employment type is not permanent. Okay, so let's test that. But before that, let me comment this one out. Okay, now when the user picks contract, it's gonna say sorry, you didn't qualify, right? After that, then it's gonna disable what? The net salary. Okay, now when we pick permanent, it's gonna be enabled. When we pick contract again, it's gonna show that message box first. First, it's gonna disable the text box and then show that message box. The thing is, we can't see it disabling it, right? Because we wrote it first. We can leave it like that, or let me take this one back. Yeah, all that because of this. Okay, now let's go to the next question. Now they're saying open the click event of the BTN submit button and add the following code. Here's the submit button. You can double click on it, or you can come here on its click event under properties, right? Double click on it. Okay, now this event, it occurs when the user clicks that button, right? In this case, the submit button. Any code that we're gonna write here, it's gonna be executed when that button is clicked. Okay, this is where all the calculations happen. 3.3.1, assign ID number, date, and net salary. Convert ID number, date, and net salary to appropriate data. We're actually collecting those data from the controls and storing them inside those variables, right? The first one was surname initials. So I will use this type conversion to convert it, since they say, and I've declared mine as what? As a string. I'll show you why. I'll use this type conversion. that's it. Next thing, 3.2, they're saying write an if statement to determine the housing subsidy amount based on the net salary rate. Note, refer to the IPO chart above. Okay, this is the IPO chart. I'm just gonna come here and say housing. Okay, now the first one they say, okay, I'm gonna say net if. So now this means that employees earning between 5,000 and 9,999 receives a subsidy of 150,000. Always remember that when we say less than 10,000, it means that it's not equals to 10,000, but it's less than 10,000. That's why I'm saying 9,999. Okay. Employees earning between 10,000 and 19,999, right? Or let me just say less than 20,000. Employees earning between 10,000 and 20,000, they qualify for 100,000 rent subsidy. If the employee is earning between 20,000 and 25,000, they qualify for 50,000 housing subsidy. Now, if the employee earns more than 25,000, then we're gonna show them this message: your net salary exceeds the monthly earnings threshold. Throw a message box. Okay, after that we're gonna exit sub. When the user clicks OK. Yeah, and I think that's it. That's how we determine the housing subsidy. Okay, let's go to the next question. 3.3.3, they're saying add a formula to generate a reference number, and note, use formula in the IPO chart. Okay, this is the formula. Now, there was a reason why I've kept my ID as a string, right? Because this string function called substring, it only works on strings. That's why it's called a string function, right? So now the substring function, it actually extracts a portion of text from a string, like a number of characters. This number of characters, in this case, it's gonna take the last 6 numbers from this ID string. Okay, that's why I've kept my ID as string, but we could have kept it as any other data type and then convert it to a string, just like what we are going to do to this date, right? Because a date, it's not a string, right? It's a date. It's a data type on its own. Okay, now, so the first thing that we have to do is to declare another variable that's going to store this date as a string. This is going to store this date as a string. The date the user is going to pick, right, as a string. Now, to do that, let me just say, okay, first thing we're going to declare this variable that's going to store the new date, the date as a current, as a string, right? I'm just going to call it ref date. So what it does, it's going to take the date that is stored inside this variable and convert it into a string and then store it into this new variable called ref date. Okay. Now we're going to come here and say reference number is equal to, the first thing was ID number. Okay, I mean, we could have declared this ID as any other data type and then convert it into a string just like we did here. Okay, that's why I said you can ask your lecturer if they were going to give you a mark. Okay, now let's go to the next question. 3.3.4, right? They're saying add a code to display the housing subsidy and note format to currency as indicated in figure 5. If this is figure 4, this could be figure 5. Okay, housing subsidy, right? So this is the label. It's called LBL subsidy amount in our case. Okay, to do that, I'm gonna call that label. Or you can use this way. If the other one is not working, just use this one. Okay, that's it for 3 marks. The next question, point 5, they're saying add a statement to display a message on the appropriate label as indicated below. So this is the label. It's called LBL message. I'm just gonna come here and say message. I'm gonna call the label the first thing was surname initials, right? And then we're gonna concatenate it to this string. And after that, we're gonna concatenate it to, let me just copy it to this. And that's it for 3 marks. Now they're saying, before that, let's test if it's gonna bring, let's say, these results, okay? To see if we're going to if we're going in the right direction. Let's see. I'm just gonna pick today's date. We'll pick permanent, right? And the net salary is 22,000. Press submit. So far so good, right? Except for the reference number. They didn't ask us to display the reference number, right? So let's go ahead and do that. We'll just display it right here where we're generating it. We're gonna say LBL reference number. We're gonna call that label and say is equal to, and that's it. Let's test it one last time. Yeah, and one thing about the reference number, of course, it's not gonna show, they're not gonna be the same as ours because it's gonna depend on how we have formatted our date, right? Okay, now let's go to the next question. They're saying open the click event of the button clear, right? And add code to clear all the appropriate controls and reset the date to current date for 4 marks. For 4 marks, okay. Now we're gonna double click on this button to open its event, its click event. Let's clear those text box first. Next, let's clear those labels. Combo box. We know that the first item is at index 0 now. If we want to assign it to nothing, we have to say is equal to -1. The date, we're gonna set it to just come and say date.now, or you can say date.today. Yeah, I think that's all the controls, right? Yeah, I think so. Okay, now they're saying change the form title bar to your examination number and enter any test data and print the form. We have already tested. Now, they didn't say anything about the exit button, right? I'll just come and say close. Now, the form title bar, this is the form title bar. To change it, you're going to come to the properties icon, and this is where you can change it, okay, to your examination number. Yeah, I think that's it for today's lesson, guys. If you found this lesson helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.